I actually had that conversation with several of my colleagues. They're somewhat like-minded, so it might have been a one-sided conversation. It would be one of the first things that I would do is eliminate all restrictions on a player that can go earn a living. You know, you talked about those two players stepping out and not playing this year. You know, it breaks your heart, but I understand. If you remember, we had arguably the best team in America and the best player in America, and Nick Bosa, and he got hurt week 3. And he had a real tough surgery, might have been able to come back near the end of the year. Certainly, we were told he could come back and play in the final game against our rivals, et cetera. He wasn't only our best player, he's the toughest guy. He was my guy. He was my captain. And he opted out with his father, and I get it. He didn't want to risk that recurrent injury. And when he looked at me and said $30 million, as much as I couldn't even get out of the chair for a few minutes when he told me he was going to go to the NFL, because I knew what that meant to our team, not just as a player, but as a leader. I understood. I get it. So I would restrict, you know, you're taking that square peg, amateur athletics, slamming it into a round hole called the NFL or professional sports where you can make a living doing it. And I worry. I would eliminate all restriction. Here's the issue. And Reggie and Mackin, you have so many hanger-ons. You have so many agents that fill these players with nonsense about. I had a player one time come to me. He ended up not getting drafted, and this was at Florida. And he came up to me and says, "I signed with an agent. The agent promised me he could get me into the second round." And I looked at him like he had 7 heads. Like, coaches or GMs don't talk to agents. They look at videotape. You're not a second rounder. And he ended up not having a degree, not graduating because of the ill-advised information he was receiving. So you will see players hurt. But that's one of the first thing I would do is I would eliminate all obstacles to go to the NFL. You can do that anytime. Go be a professional athlete at any sport, anytime. You have your right as an American and to do that. The second thing I would do is I would do name and likeness, and I'm going to tell on record, I've been on record with this, I am very concerned that will be used as an inducement in recruiting, not fair market value, but it will be induced. Matter of fact, I know that you've never recruited before if you don't believe that this will be an inducement to get athletes to go to certain schools because car dealers will give them 20 grand or something to put their names on billboards, et cetera. So those are my 2 thoughts. Worst part of the job is seeing a young man go down in a tough sport like football, or, you know, my daughter had a concussion in volleyball, and that's the worst thing. And I can't disagree with that one bit. And maybe Joel, I've never heard that before, but here we could go on. This could be a 6-hour show and it could be all valid points. And I think reality is this, that we live in a capitalistic society where your market value should be worth something. As much as I'm concerned about that, I can't disagree. If Zeke Elliott ran for 250 against Alabama in the Sugar Bowl, his value went through the ceiling. He really shouldn't have had to come back for his junior year. He should be able to market and go play professional sports. So name and likeness and eliminate all restrictions on NFL. Here's a thing that I think Reggie brought up a great point yesterday in our conference call. Why is football have to support all sports? You know, where did that model start? And I get it. You know, universities have all kinds of different ways of funding things. If we really think, which I do, I think the greatest value, you can't teach what my daughters learned on volleyball on a team. You can't teach that in a classroom. And I'll fight anyone on that. What you learn in the overtime game against so-and-so about you have to do this for your teammates to win, I can't put a price tag on that. And I know these college educations are 80 grand. You're getting, or, you know, 50, 60, 70, 80 grand. Georgia Tech happened to be $80,000. I know the value of a degree, and it carries with you. So I'm looking at the underdog. I don't look at it as much as the Reggie and Matt and Chase Young and Zeke, because in my mind, the payday's coming. That payday is coming, and my gosh, that's generational, you know, money, and I get that. I look at it from the blue-collar guy, from the guy that's really is valuing, what's that value of the kid that played at Bowling Green? Now he's a president of a company. Go ask him. He'd probably say, I can't put a value on that. You know, I was a taker, not a giver necessarily. So great conversation. I feel very strongly about the no restriction to the NFL and name and likeness allow it.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.